Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Sheila Gunn-Reid for Rebel News, and I'm here in front of GraceLife Church, west of Edmonton, and I'm here because based on the recent behavior of many of our top politicians, I expected the fence that surrounds this church to come down and the church to be returned to its faithful congregants who are currently, every Sunday, holding services in a secret location to avoid the government. They've gone completely underground. You see, this week, images were leaked on social media of Alberta's Premier Jason Kenney, as well as our Finance Minister, our Environment Minister, and, of course, the Health Minister Tyler Shandro, appearing to break their own COVID regulations, depending on how you look at it and how much of a stickler you are. And these people are sticklers. They're sitting on a private patio in a building pejoratively known as the Sky Palace for its embarrassing history of government opulence. You see, former Premier Alison Redford tried to build herself a private penthouse for $3 million in the very same building, and that scandal took her premiership down. Well, fast forward 7 years, and the Sky Palace just might bring down another Conservative. You see, this mask-free gathering of top politicians on their private patio might be construed as a bit of a restaurant experience. Currently in Alberta, restrictions on restaurant patios say that you can have no more than 4 people sitting together. And those 4 people have to all be from the same household unless they live completely alone. Now, if that's not a private restaurant experience up there on the Sky Palace, but rather an outdoor public gathering, they can have up to 10 people. And I guess that really points out the ridiculousness of all of this. If money exchanges hands for food and drink, it's only 4 people. If you're eating and drinking but nobody gets paid for it, you can have 10 people. It doesn't make any sense, but follow the science, right? Now, simultaneously, while news broke that UCP politicians were once again flouting the spirit of the lockdown restrictions that they seek to impose on everyone else, lawyers for Alberta Health Services have been fighting Albertans in court for the crime of standing up to the government lockdown. Thursday afternoon was the contempt hearing for Chris Scott, the owner of the Whistle Stop Cafe. Scott spent 3 days in jail for refusing to go broke and protesting the lockdown by holding a 1,500-person-strong protest at his recently chained-up restaurant. Yes, his restaurant was confiscated by the province earlier in the very same week of the protest. This morning, I spent the morning in court listening to lawyers for Alberta Health Services try to get themselves and succeed in getting themselves a similar court order to prevent rodeo legend Ty Northcott and his wife Gail from holding a protest rodeo this weekend. And if they break the court order that AHS just got against them, they'll face jail time. But so will anybody who attends their event or participates in their event as well. I'm standing in front of GraceLife Church. Now, this church was expropriated by the province. The pastor, James Coates, was imprisoned for 35 days in a maximum security facility. For the first 2 weeks of his incarceration, he was in solitary COVID confinement. His crime? Refusing to turn away his congregants to meet an arbitrary hard cap on in-person worship services. That's it. For that, he was held with murderers and rapists. And it's not bad enough that the province confiscated this church and then forced the congregation to go underground. And for a time, they completely fortified it. They turned it into an RCMP garrison. However, now it's largely abandoned. I know the province has care and control of the property, but they can't even cut the grass. They've left a mall cop stationed here to make sure no Christians come by and pull down the fence. People here at GraceLife have tied yellow ribbons around the outer layer of the 3 layers of fence the government is using to keep these Christians away from their own property, and yet our politicians have private white linen dining experiences in a taxpayer-funded building, flouting the spirit of the law the government imposed on the church right behind me. For all of their confessions to the contrary, we really aren't all in this together with the politicians. As my friend David Menzies says, there are rules for thee and rules for me, and it's time to treat Sky Palace the same way the government treats Albertans. Chain up Sky Palace like it's a small town diner just serving burgers and fries. Fence Sky Palace off like it's a church trying to give comfort to people in their time of need. For Rebel News here at GraceLife Church, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. GraceLife Church and the pastor here, James Coates, are represented by the very capable lawyers at the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. However, Rebel News is currently helping Chris Scott, that imprisoned diner owner, with all of his legal fees. If you'd like to help us continue to help Chris Scott, please donate today at fightthefines.com, and all donations there now qualify for a charitable tax receipt through the registered Canadian charity, the Democracy Fund.